All right, first to begin, we know the indigenous people on the planet spread out from Sheikh Anta Diop did a lecture, and he has the book showing you that the Africans left Africa and went all over the diaspora, all over the planet. The Native Americans came directly from Africa when they sailed and came down and landed in Mexico, in Mexam, and they built that civilization with the Olmec civilization. The Olmec civilization come from the Incas, the Mayans, right? Then it come down to the Native Americans here. So which was all African, the Chippewa, the Choctaw, the Cherokee, the Shoshone, the Blackfoot, the Crow. These are all African tribes. These were all African directly from Africa.
Everything that we are taught about the American Indian is wrong. It's inaccurate.
Who are you? You don't know. Don't tell me Negro, that's nothing. What were you before the white man named you a Negro? And where were you? And what did you have? What was yours? What language did you speak then? What was your name? It couldn't have been Smith or Jones or Bunch or Powell. That wasn't your name. They don't have those kind of names where you and I came from. No, what was your name? And why don't you now know what your name was then? Where did it go? Where did you lose it? Who took it? And how did he take it? What tongue did you speak? How did the man take your tongue? Where is your history? How did the man wipe out your history? What did the man do to make you as dumb as you are right now?
These four brothers sitting here, we didn't all come from Africa. And there was a country before 1492, and our history goes way beyond 1492. So you can't start us at 1492. We were always here.
Black folk are the only non-immigrants in this country. I know people always say, well, Indians are immigrants. Indians were the original people. No, they were not. The original people in this country were black folk. The Folsom people that came in this country about 16,000 years ago.
Yeah, 98% of the Asiatics in the Western Hemisphere are the Aboriginal people of the land. They were here even before the great earthquake and the cocoa shift of the cocoa plates in Central America, which you call Old Mexum. That's why they say Olmec. That's right. You were here. That's right. Before the river became the Atlantis. That's how long. You know, and that is part of the unum sanctum policy to disconnect the people from the land. This is why, again, they had the book burnings, to disconnect you from the land. Now, let's keep this in mind. Anybody that pays attention to any details knows that when any people anywhere on the planet, in any continent on the planet, when there's large social unrest and problems with the people, they will deport them to their homeland. The people here who think that human beings are crayons are never deported because they're home.
My grandma, like, yo, grandma, what's your background? She like, Redfoot and Blacktail Indian. What? Yeah, my mother and my father did. We were 100% Indians. 80% of slaves was already here. It was natives. It's crazy.
80, where you get that number from?
Right. Shit, I just checked the books.
Which book?
Yeah.
I got a whole laptop full of this shit.
Yeah?
Yeah, just for me reading. It's not a solid book like, hey, it's only 1,000 slaves came here. And nah, nigga, you gotta read. You have to literally read.
Like people be thinking Indians with the Pocahontas looking, that ain't how Indians look. They look like them people in New Orleans. Louisiana, all over Louisiana. Them Indians, tribes.
Indigenous people.
And when you take people that, you can say that.
So what do you do with the heads in Mexico that you find at San Lorenzo, at Tres Zapotes? What do you do with those? All right? You ignore them. What do you do with Columbus's diary that says the Africans know a way to the west, but it goes around the doldrums, we would never survive? What do you do with that? You ignore it. What do you do with Balboa's diary that says we came upon this African village in the isthmus? How did these Africans get here? What do you do with that? You ignore it. Why? To preserve the myth that the Europeans were here first.
The definition of American, which is Amor, Al Morocco, America. This is it, right? It says copper-colored people. The various copper-colored people. The various. That's the true definition of American. You can find it in Webster's 1935 dictionary.
There's a book. Matter of fact, it's a Webster's dictionary. 1937, 1939 Webster's dictionary talks about the definition of America. And it says it is the aboriginal or copper-colored natives found on the American continent by the European.
That's the true definition. So anything that's not quote-unquote pale skin, because see, remember now, the so-called Indians supposed to be the real Native Americans. No, Moors are the Native Americans. And you know, but here's the thing. The Indian is supposed to be the Native American. Right. But this is not India. Moors are Native Americans. But some don't want to call themselves Native Americans because it's been given to the so-called Indian. Well, bring it back, because you have to bring it back. Because until you come right, it ain't going to get right.
Africans Muslims discovered the Americas. That is what the Turkey President Erdogan confirms. African Americans have long been mocked for claiming Native American ancestry, and that Africans populated the Americas long before Columbus and the Europeans colonials set sails for the American continent. Weekly, the History Channel broadcasts a television series called Ancient Aliens, which seeks to convince viewers that it was not ancient men of color, but aliens from another world, who built the megalithic structures and pyramids of the Americas, and which founded the Olmec, Aztec and Mayan culture. But the West's revisionist history campaign suffered a setback when Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan told the world that black Moorish Muslims reached America 300 years before Columbus.
Latin Amerika'nın İslam'la tanışması, dikkatinizi çekiyorum, 12. yüzyıla kadar dayanır. Amerika kıtasının 1492'de Kolomb tarafından keşfedildiği iddia edilir. Oysa Kolomb'dan 314 sene önce 1178'de Müslüman denizciler Amerika kıtasına ulaşmışlardı. 1178. Hatta Kristof Kolomb'un hatıralarında Küba kıyılarında dağın tepesinde bir caminin varlığından bahsedilmektedir.
This is not taught in your public schools, although it will be. The history that the children are learning today is not going to be history that's going to be taught in the next 25 years. It's going to be radically different. We now know for a fact that long before Columbus, there were 4 major migrations of blacks to the Americas, different parts of the Americas. And it is now known that the West African Kingdom of Mali had huge fleets of merchant vessels, and that these kings, these black kings of West Africa, began sailing across the Atlantic to Mexico as early as 900 AD, about 200 years before Christ, up until right at about the time of Christ. In other words, about 2,000 years ago. There now appears that there were wealthy West African and North African blacks, and came, if you can believe this or not, but there is solid proof for it now, to southern Illinois.
You know what, brother? If you were to walk into any mosque in America and you just laid your hands on the first person or the third person or the fifth person that you see, you realize that you're laying your hands on a Native American? There were only 8% of the slaves that came to America. So how is it that there are so many more people that they claim are black or African American? I think they got the numbers wrong, because a lot of Native Americans are the ones that they're counting as black folks too.
So you got to really know your real history. And then a lot of Asiatics know this, but if they tell that real history, they can't keep on promoting the diaspora, which is partly fiction, because they didn't bring us from anywhere. We were already here. We were here for thousands of years. And our people think it's absolutely the opposite, with their miseducation and promoted by a lot of their black leaders who are paid off because they know this information, but this will kill that diaspora because you was already here. It's your history. You're standing on your own land, trying to go to Africa, and you're standing on Africa.